Hello, hello, hello. This is your Captain Panic speaking. And welcome back to another Touchdesigner tutorial. I've been a little bit scared that I am not able to say my intro anymore. Because it's been such a long time since I recorded my last tutorial. And I am very happy to be back. First of all, as always, I will talk for a little while before we actually get started with the more interesting stuff, which is what you see in the background. But yeah, still I want to share some words. And I haven't recorded in a while because, to be completely honest, I've been down the depression hole pretty deep. I've been overworked. I had multiple jobs. I didn't have a life. So, I couldn't find the motivation to record tutorials. I didn't have the energy. I didn't feel like it. I was avoiding it, to be clear. Also, I didn't want to give the tutorial thing just some half-ass energy, and I decided to come back whenever I'm ready and give it the energy it needs or deserves, if you can say it like that. And yeah, it took a while. It felt really great to have my December Merry Crisis special again. It was pretty much fun to create all those files I shared with you last month, which are still available on my Patreon, by the way. 24 files. I'm glad to see I didn't forget to advertise my stuff. But all in all, I just wanted to say thank you for all the continued support and the nice comments and messages I'm getting. I'm also very sorry I have been very bad at replying to messages or comments, because also that was depression. I have to put it like that. I'm sorry. But in the past month, I felt like I want excuse for that, because it's okay to feel that way, and it's okay to be depressed. It's okay to be not okay, which we like to say. And basically that's pretty much everything I wanted to state in the beginning. Another thing I want to address shortly is that, once again, I am not a technical mastermind or touch designer wizard. I am a creative person who does creative stuff and likes to share how they've done it. That's my way of thinking, my way of doing things. And sometimes I'm getting some kind of rude comments which kind of make fun of my techniques. And also, to be honest about that, it gets to me. And whoever feels addressed by this, if you don't have any constructive criticism for me, which I can work with, which is formulated in a nice way, then you can tell me, but otherwise it might be better to keep your mouth closed or keep your fingers off the keyboard. And I have no intention to sound rude, but I'm not the most secure person, and many others aren't too, and kinda rude comments get to them and keep them from being motivated, from being creative and being fine. And yeah, so keep in mind to stay kind. That was a great sentence, which will lead me to the tutorial. And now we are getting started. And yes, in the background you can already see the network and what we are going to work on today. And yeah, this time it's not a really great feedback loop or anything. It's basically just pixel pushing and making layers on colors and edge on edge and lots of detail work. So how do we get details and a little animation inside of images? How do we get this kind of cartoony effect with some offsetted outlines? And yes, so basically it's Photoshop in Touchdesigner, and I love to do that. So yeah, I will see you on my screen. All right, welcome on my screen. And I already loaded in the image I'm going to work with, which is a flower model I generated from a ton of images of flowers I collected over the years. And I will share this on my Patreon with the project files for this tutorial. So if you want to use exactly my image, head over to my Patreon and download the file and the assets. As for everyone else, I recommend to use an image similar to this. So have a transparent background, have lots of details but still some clear lines. And yes, as you know me, I'm always working with flowers and flower-like things, so I suppose this would also work great with a tree or anything like that. But yeah, feel free to use something else. The only thing which is kind of needed for this is a transparent background, but you can also throw in like I don't know, let's use this from the default Touchdesigner thing and maybe put a chroma key behind it, and then you can just find a hue which you want to make transparent, or a value of brightness, I don't know, whatever works for you, it works. Yes, I will work with this, obviously. All right, so let's get started. And first thing I'm gonna do is connect my image, which I loaded in with a null. And then I will hit the blue button, the blue circle here to display it in the background. All right, so next thing I'm gonna do is, because I want to work in a resolution which I can control, I will use a fit of the image, and then under the comment tab I will just use the 4K RAAYS, and I will also put it to 32-bit float pixel format, just so we can get as much details as possible. And yes, Perfect. Let's go on. As you noticed, this is a still image and we are going to work on an animation. So I just decided to displace those flowers a little bit with a noise. So first thing, let's bring in another operator, which will be the displace. And then we will bring down the displace weight to 0.995. And then we will make a noise. Then we will use this one as the input for the upper input, so the background image. And then in the noise, under the output tab, we will just select the noise. So this way we make sure we have the same resolution here, like here. And then we also put the pixel format to 32-bit float. And next thing is to make sure to work with colors and turn off the monochrome. And then I think I left everything else on default, except I will turn on some translate by typing in apps time.seconds multiplied by 0.1. And yes, this way we connected with the second input, and now you can see we have some nice and little wobbly displacement going on. It kind of reminds me of wind floating through flower fields or anything. I kind of like this movement a lot. And of course you can adjust this by bringing in more harmonics if you want it to be really wobbly, or you can turn off the harmonics to make it a little bit more smooth. You can turn down the period to make it bubbly. You can turn it up to make it less bubbly. So I will just, I don't know, keep it like this. Put it on 2, or maybe let's leave it at 1. So, okay. All right. Then after this, we will make an edge, the first of many. And we kind of keep this, yes, we keep this on default. Because we can adjust this later on when we see which impact it has on the overall artwork. All right, and then after the edge, we will just make a composite, place it here, and we want to get the original colors of those flowers in here again, so we just connect this to the comp and leave the operation mode on multiply. And this way just composite those two together. All right. Then give us some more space. Make a null after this because we just finished an action, and I always put a null which groups everything for me after a certain action I did. So in this case, in this edge scenario. All right. And then after this, we will make another comp. And this comp, we will change the operation mode to over. And then out of this null here, we will make a feedback. And this feedback we will connect to that comp. And then we will make this comp the target layer of the feedback. So we do that by just taking it and dragging it onto the comp and letting it go. This way we have our feedback loop. And then I want to be able to reset it from time to time, so I make a keyboard in job, which I will place above it and just make it active here, take on here, drag it on here, and let go on the pulse and chop the reference. And this way, when we hit 1, we reset the feedback loop. Okay. So, after that, we make some actions in the feedback loop. So, this feedback loop will create the base of our details and the offsetted contour lines and everything. So it's kind of important to get some nice twists in here. So I made a transform after this because I want the outside offsetted contour lines of the cartoon effect to grow a little bit from time to time and yeah, just offset nicely. So I decided to set the growth to 0.3. So it's really slightly growing a little bit bigger and getting a little bit blurry. And then we just bring in a level because we want this to disappear from time to time so the offset doesn't get too big. So I set this level opacity in post to 0.997. So it's disappearing really slowly. Okay. So we can bring in some more and some different operators in here later. But right now, I just want to step forward and get to the final effect, and then we can make some adjustments and experiments. But first of all, I want to show the bare effect. Okay, so let's give us some more space, and then make a null. Because, once again, we finished something. Okay, so after the null, I will make a composite. That composite I will set to maximum, and then I will make a select, and I will select our original image. So I will take the fit, so it has the right resolution, and just drag it and drop it onto the select. And then I will just connect it with this. So this way, when we set it to maximum, it just comps both of those images together and blends them over kind of nice. You can try to have different blend modes here later. So this is also an interesting parameter to play around, and maybe we can just mark the components which are kind of interesting. So to do that, I will just hit the C on my keyboard to make this color board visible, and then I will just connect that comp and maybe make it pink. Pink is nice. That's not the nicest pink. Let's take this. And also let's mark this one and those two. Also pretty cool to play around with. All right. Cool. So let's continue. Now it gets really interesting and detailed in here. So after that comp, we will head into a blur. And that blur, I set the filter size to 13 and left everything else on default. And then after this, I will make a noise. And I will use both of this as the input for the noise. And then we will set the output of the noise to just noise. And now we have a kind of chromey thing going on, which is also pretty cool, but not what we want. We just want to go for this cartoon effect, right? So I set the exponent to null. And this way we are getting this black and white threshold kind of thing. And also I will set the offset to 0.705. I don't really know why I did this, but maybe it has a reason. I don't know yet. I don't remember. And also I set the period to 3, because this way we are not getting as much details as when we go lower. It's also kind of cool to have more, but I chose to go with 3 and leave the harmonics on 2. Also, this is interesting to play around with. So let's give it a color again. So make it purple. Yes. All right. Then, as you already can see, we lost our alpha, our transparent background, which I want to bring in again. So let's make an inside. The inside is one of my favorite things to get transparency back, because I can just use something from before where I had transparency and just use the same alpha channel on something I did later on. And I used the alpha layer of the select here. So I don't want to use this blurred alpha. I want those clear and sharp lines. So let's use this one as the second input. So the first one is what you put in, and the second input is where you put it in. And yes. So, so much about that. As you can see, we are already getting closer to our result, but we want colors and we want even more details and contours and details and details and details. So, yeah. First thing is to bring in color. So what I did was make another noise, and my brain freezed for a second and set the output to noise, so make both of them the input and set the output to just the noise, and then turn off the monochrome. Yes. And set the exponent to, I don't know, something lower, maybe 8.9. That's cool. I brought this down, the period to 0.22. And also I don't want too much harmonics, because as you can see it's getting a little bit frizzled. Don't even know if that's a word, just came on my mind. And yes, that looks kind of good to me. And because I want more different colors and more animation and evolution in here, I decided to bring in another movement in the translate. So make abs time dot seconds multiplied by 0.1 again, and this way it just changes the color over time, which I think is kind of nice. And then what I did as well is copy that noise and make another noise with some different color harmonics. So change some parameters. I changed the period to 1 and I changed the seed to something else. And then I made a comp after those two noises and just comped them together with a multiply, because I felt like this is giving me more details and color harmonics. And yeah, then also let's select those and make those purple again so we can come back later and don't forget them. Okay, because they are very important to change the colors afterwards. And because right now it's got a little bit too dark, I brought in an HSV adjust after it, where I just pumped up the value multiplier to 2, so it's a little bit brighter again, and also I turned the saturation to 3, but I think we are already at maximum, so it doesn't really matter, but I still did it. Yes, so now we took care of color, and now let's make sure to get in the edges again. So to do that, I will just select this, push it a little bit up, so push that a little bit up, and then let's head back to this one, to the inside. And after that inside, we make another path of edge. So let's make an edge, place it here, let's have a look at it. Yes, it already looks like some kind of nice and pixely and blurry outlines, which I really dig for this effect. And I don't want them to be white at this point, so I just change the edge color to black, but you can go with any color you like for the outlines. I just wanted to keep it kind of classy. And then we need to bring those colors together with those edges. So once again, we will make a comp, place it down here, comp this over, and then instead of multiply, we make over again, and then make sure to change the operator order to edge on top. So we just put those outlines on top of the colors. Cool. Already looks kind of good. Okay, let's move on. So one thing I'd like to do is change the seat here, because I don't like to stay on a normal default one seat and just select a random one. Cool. All right, let's move on and bring in the edges we made before. So, or not the edges we made before, because we will make them right now, but the edges with the offset. Like, because right now we want to bring in more contours and the offsetted lines I talked about in the beginning. So we will make a select, and we will take this comp 3 this time, so where we comped together the feedback and our original image. And we will place it up here. And then we will make a noise after it. And for that noise, we will turn down the exponent, or first of all, let's connect it to both inputs, and turn the output to noise. Then we will bring down the exponent to null, and then we will turn the period to 3, the harmonics to null, because we want something like a kinda detailed stamp, but not too much details. Also, I turned down the amplitude to 0.19. I don't really know why I did it. And also the offset to 0.705. I also don't know which one. Then I just let's use another seed, just some random one, which we again will mark pink, so we can mess with it later again, because this is also a little bit interesting, and but only a little bit. And after this one, we will make another edge. We will keep this edge on default, except for making it black, but also you can change the color to whatever you like here. And then I will just place it in here again and make sure to move it up so it's above the HSV adjust. And yeah, now you can see we have those offsetted kind of displaced lines, and when we hit 1 and we set our feedback, we can see those lines slowly developing and growing apart, and I really like this look. Yes. All right. Now let's think about bringing in even more details and more different colors of edges. So I want to give it a little bit more variety in the contours and in the lines. So you can totally already use this one, but I decided to add some more Photoshop layers and some adjustments layers and everything. So yeah, first of all, let's make another select to keep it a little bit more clean. And for that select, I'm also going to use my startup flower image again. So just take it, move it here, and place it somewhere. And yes, then after that, we will make another noise. So this is really a noiseful, a noisy product file. And once again, both inputs in here, output to noise, and then let's have a look at this. Also again, we want this to be a stamp, but this time not even middle details, this time nearly no details. So bring down the exponent to null again, and bring the period to 6, and harmonics, yeah, maybe to, yeah, let's keep them at null. And yes, let's keep that seed for now, because this exactly looks like what I want. I want those big black areas and with some details, but really not a lot of details. And then after this, I will make another edge, of course. Basically, all I'm telling you in this tutorial is make a noise and make an edge and then comp it over and over and over. So if you expected more from my comeback, I'm sorry, but it's back to everything it's been before, right? And yes. All right, now we wanna comp this over again, so I decided to make another comp to keep it a little bit more clean what's going in here. We could also just place it in here, but I wanted to make another one, so it's better. So just comp those two together, make sure to change the operation mode to over, and place the edge over the comp. And yes, now you can see we have those still white lines, which is not what I want. I just figured out I put in the wrong thing. I want the displaced image in here in the select. So let's change this. Instead of using this one, we will use the displace and put it in here. Yes. This way it follows the movement. And then also I want those lines to be thinner and not as present as the other lines. So I brought the black level here in this edge to 9.943. So the lines are a little bit thinner and they are, yeah, less present. Perfect. Yeah, all right. Now we're nearly at the end, I have to say. So now we'll make some little adjustments to give us more control over colors and everything. So or actually, let's bring in another thing. So a thing that is also kind of nice is having some shadows to everything, right? So let's bring in some shadows. And to do this, I will make another noise after this one here. So first of all, I would just copy this noise, place it under this, and then I will just use another seed and let's see how that works. So for this, we will need maybe something like this will work. And then, of course, we will make another comp after this. Or maybe let's do it before we bring in the white lines. So the white lines are over the shadows. So I will make another comp in between comp 5 and comp 6. So make this comp and then just put this one in here. And I think we can keep it on multiply, yes. Yeah, I think it's kind of cool to have a little bit of those black areas here. We can play around with the seed or also the harmonics and yes, the period of this to give it a little bit of different look, but I keep it on 6 right now. And yeah, this looks kind of nice to me. It has a lot of details and yeah, I just enjoy it a lot. Yes, I like this one. All right. that's kind of cool. And yes, I think that's basically it about this tutorial. Another thing you could do is just use some lookup or anything, just like this. Make it monochrome. And then you could just take a ramp and have more control over the colors if you put some different ones in the ramp. So you have a limited color palette. If you don't want it to change all the time, you could just use this. I decided not to use it, so I deleted it again. And yeah, that's it for this tutorial. We could try to make some scale on here. So yeah, as you can see, we get this really cool, I don't know how to call it, but it's really nice and abstract and cool to have this. Also, you could just, I don't know, make it rotate to make it a little bit trippy, maybe not too much. Also, you could bring in some displays after this even. I don't know how this will turn out. Yes, also kind of cool. Maybe a little bit too extreme, I don't know. But also, I kind of really like it to have some abstract pattern to this. And yes, maybe it might be even cool to have this blurring out, to have some kind of blob happening here. Yeah, whatever you like, feel free to experiment with this. I think this is a kind of cool base to keep playing. And yeah, that's it for this tutorial. And I talked a lot. My mouth is getting dry, so I will stop talking now. And yeah, thanks for watching this tutorial. Thanks for any kind of support. Every like, share, comment is appreciated, of course. Everything is appreciated, actually. And yeah, if you feel like, feel free to join my Patreon, where I will share the project files for this and also the assets, like the image, or actually have a couple of images I will share. And yeah, I am looking forward to the next time, and until then, stay creative, stay healthy, and stay kind. Bye bye.